All right, so this is the training video for the water cycle lesson. And we call this lesson the incredible journey because students will travel on a journey as water molecules through the water cycle. So a few things to know about the setup. You're gonna have a set of signs that look like this, and they're gonna come to you in a box that's taken apart. All of the pieces will be straight like this, and you just wanna make an eye, and the eye goes on the floor, and then the upright piece or pieces, if there are two, go right here, and then the sign goes in. And then each little of these 9 signs has a dice that goes with it. You know it's the right dice because it says stay by the sign that is a part of it. So stay ocean, this is the ocean sign. And then you have your container full of beads. All right, so that's the setup. And those are in a circle and they're somewhere else. And then you'll have a blue tarp for students to sit on when the lesson starts. And so you want them away from the activity when you are getting started. So I think that's all the setup you need to know. So when the students come to the lesson, they're going to sit on the blue tarp and you're going to say, okay, this lesson is about the water cycle. What do you know about the water cycle? Evaporation is a part of the water cycle, right? Okay. So water goes up when it evaporates, and then what happens? It goes down, it turns into clouds, and it rains, right? So we've got this idea of the water cycle and water moving all around. Hopefully students have learned in their classroom that the water cycle is not a circle, but it is a crazy web. But if not, if they say something about a circle, then you're going to say, okay, but today we're going to explode that idea a little bit and talk about all the crazy ways water moves. So our next question is, how does water move in the water cycle? What are the processes? We already had one word. What was that word? Evaporation. So we're going to learn some hand motions to go with those words. So evaporation is pretty easy. We're just showing the water going up. What's another process? Rain or precipitation. We got rain and precipitation. What's another word? Condensation. Great. So condensation we like to show by the water molecules coming together. Are there any other ways that water can move in the Earth system? Percolation. Students don't often know this word, and so it might be one you have to give. And you could ask the question, what happens if water sits on the ground? What happens to it then? And they might say it evaporates, but if it soaks in, then we call that percolation, and we show it kind of going down into the ground. And what about water when it lands in a river? It flows, right? So we've got water flowing. Excellent. So that's all the ways that water moves and has motion. So now we're going to think about where the places it goes are. So where in the Earth system can we find water? And for that, you need a whiteboard. So we need a whiteboard for this part. You'll have a whiteboard and a marker, and you're going to ask students, where in the Earth system do we find water? So where in the Earth system do we find water? The ocean. And also I heard rain, so we're going to put rain on here too. Where else? Lakes. Your house. Interesting.
Rivers.
We're going to talk about the natural system today, so we're not going to think so much about our houses. Rivers. Where else? A pond. Ponds are kind of like little lakes. The ground. Clouds. We have water in the clouds. Where else?
My dog.
Your dog. Your dog. What kind of creature is your dog? An animal. Where else do we find water? In the soil. That's a hard one for students to get. Sometimes we have to talk about where do plants get their water? They get it from the soil, which brings us to plants. And there's water that's frozen and it's at the North Pole. What do we call that?
An iceberg.
An iceberg or a glacier. All right. So as we're making this list, I am looking for these 9 specific words, which are the 9 words that are on our signs. But I'm going to take all the answers the students give me, and if they're not the one of the 9, I'm still going to write them on the board and include those. And if I can categorize them like I did here, oh, ponds are rivers, or no, ponds are lakes, or dogs are animals, then I want to do that for the students as well. But we're trying to get these 9 here because the next thing I'm going to do is number them. All right. So now that our signs are numbered, we're going to pass out our pipe cleaners or chenille set stems. And when we do that, as we do it, we're going to count the students off by 9s. 1, 2, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on is how you're going to pass out the chenille stems. Now that you've got your stems, you're going to have the students say, okay, number 1s. You'll probably have about 2 or 3 students with each number. And you're going to say, number 1s, where could you go from the clouds? And hopefully they'll respond with some answers like,
Lakes.
yeah, anywhere you can rain down to. You could rain down into lakes or oceans or animals. Number 2s, raise your hands. Where could you go from the ocean?
Clouds.
Clouds. The only place you can go from the ocean is up in evaporation. 3, lakes. Where could you go?
Clouds.
To the clouds. Great. Rivers. Where could you go?
To the clouds. Groundwater.
Groundwater. Where could you go?
Plants.
To plants. To rivers.
Lakes.
To lakes. So number 6 is animals. Where could you go?
Rivers. Soil.
Rivers, soil. Pee comes out of animals, right? Or sweat maybe goes to evaporates to clouds. Soil. 7. Where could you go from the soil?
Plants.
Into the plants. That's great. How about plants? Where does water go from plants?
Soil. Animals.
Oh, an animal might eat it. How does the water get out of plants?
Evaporation.
Evaporation or something we call transpiration. Great. So water goes out of the plants and into the clouds. And what about from a glacier? Where can water go from a glacier?
Ocean.
Ocean. All right. So once we've established all of that, I'm going to teach you how to play the game. You all, like I said, are going to be water molecules traveling through the water cycle. And so you have your water cycle journey record here. And here's the most important rule of the game. Every time you roll the bead, take a die. Nope.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even catch it.
Here's the rule to the game. Every time you roll the die, take a bead. What's the rule?
Every time you roll the die, take a bead.
Excellent. So you want the students to repeat that to you, and then you're going to model. So I'm here at Ocean, and I'm going to roll the die. Now, when I roll the die, I'm going to be gentle with it. Lots of students have to use this die, right? So we're not going to throw it up in the air. We're not going to kick it. We're going to be gentle. So we're going to roll the die. Oh, and I got Ocean. Stay. So what do?
Take a bead.
Take a bead, because every time I roll the die, I take a bead. So I'm going to take a bead, put it on my chenille stem, and then what do I need to do? I got stay. So I'm going to stay. I'm going to go to the end of the line and start again. And when I get to the front of the line, I'm going to roll again. And if this time I get cloud, what am I going to do? Take a bead. Take a bead. And then I can go move on to cloud. And that's how the game is played. And so everybody's doing that all at once. There's no turns. We're just all playing the game. And then you're going to say something like, number 1s, stand up and go to lake. Number 2s, go to ocean. Number 3s, go to soil. So that all the stations, the students are all at their stations to get started. Inevitably, somewhere in there, a student's going to be like, I don't remember my number. Just tell them, go to soil. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be perfect. So then they're going to play the game. Okay, so once students are lined up at their stations, you're going to tell them to go ahead and get going and start rolling the die. So go ahead and start, everyone. big?
Water's everywhere? It hasn't rained yet.
It hasn't rained yet. You're just like these clouds over here that aren't raining down today, right? Sometimes clouds get really big. When you're playing the game, oftentimes the cloud line or the ocean line will get really long, and you want to help the students understand that that's how the real water cycle works, right? When the ocean is really big, we can talk about if you're a drop of water at the bottom of the ocean, might you be stuck there for a while? And sometimes students will get, 4 or 5 beads that show that they've been in the ocean for a long time. So those are all things you want to do as the game is playing. When you've been playing for about 10 minutes or students have about this many beads, you want to go ahead and tell them to stop. I usually like to do that by saying, take a bead from the line you're in right now and then come sit on the blue tarp with me. And then you're going to have everyone hold up their strands of beads and look around and say, is anybody's strand of beads or water journey exactly like yours?
No.
No, they're all different. Why is that?
It's not a circle.
It's not a circle. If you drew a picture of where you were walking all around in crazy directions, right? And then you're going to have students talk about their water cycle journey. So I like to issue this as a challenge. Who can tell me about their water cycle journey without using the words went or go? You're going to use our water process words to tell about your journey. Okay, so Juliana is going to tell us about her water cycle journey. Actually, you hold this, and then I'll do the hand motions. Okay, here we go. So where did you start?
I was in the clouds.
She was in the clouds, okay.
I precipitated
She precipitated. Everybody do the hand motions with me. She precipitated to where?
to the river.
To the river. Then what?
An animal.
An animal drank you. Okay, then what happened?
Then I went to the soil.
Oh, how'd you get there?
Animal peed.
Peed, or we could call it flow. You flowed out of the animal. All right, where did we go after that?
A plant.
A plant. How do you get from soil to a plant?
The plant soaks up the water from the
Soaked up-
soil.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Then I went to the cloud.
Then you evaporated or transpired to the cloud. Then where?
Then I went to the soil again.
Back, precipitated to the soil.
Then I went back to the river
And flowed to a river
and into the ground.
and percolated into the ground.
And then I went into a lake.
Oh, and then she went. What did you do?
I flowed into a lake.
Flowed or percolated into a lake. Excellent. Okay, so now that we've talked about our water journey, we can also have students go ahead and tell a partner about a water journey. You're going to want students, when they're telling the whole class, to do the hand motions. Otherwise, it's a pretty static, not interesting moment. And you could invite the teachers to take a picture of it so that when they get back to their classroom, they can still use this resource. Those are all ways to kind of keep the learning going. The most important part of ending this activity is making sure that that string of beads ends up on a wrist as a bracelet, so it's not a distraction for the rest of the day. If students don't want to wear them, they can put them in their pocket, but they need to be away where they're not distractions for the rest of the day.